Hello and welcome to another video, and today's video is going to be kind of a rant. I honestly wasn't even planning this. I woke up this morning, like most of you woke up this morning, and saw the news of a Nintendo Switch Pro. The thing that's that's been rumored for so long, except it's not actually a Nintendo Switch Pro. It is the Nintendo Switch OLED model, and I think it's appropriately named because that's literally all it is. So this is a bare bones minimum refresh of a machine, and if I'm being honest, the price tag of it is $350. It's not worth $350 in my opinion, and we're gonna rant about it today. We're gonna talk about it today, and just exactly what is going on with Nintendo. Why announce this now a month after E3? Why not just put this out there at E3? It has a 7-inch screen versus the 6.1-inch screen of the standard model. Yes, the screen's an OLED, so it's going to be a lot crisper, a lot brighter. Think of the original version of the Vita before they got rid of the OLED screen. That's exactly what this is. Also, it has 64 gigabytes of internal memory instead of 32 that the base model had. It has a different dock. The cool thing about the back of it is it actually has a very sturdy back plate. If you're the kind of person that likes to set the system down on a hard surface and play that way, but I don't really know many people that play Switch that way, but hey, whatever. It also has a new dock that has a built-in network port, so you can have a wired connection with the Switch, like hooray. The only people that are honestly really excited about that are Smash players. I mean, let's be honest, they've wanted that since the system came out. Yeah, I mean, other minor details, I mean, it will use all the same hardware. It's literally the same machine, and that's the biggest point and the biggest disappointment that I want to get across. And the biggest part of this rant is it's the same machine, just a little bit better of a screen, a little more internal memory, and a network port in the stand. That's it. Like, in terms of a hardware refresh, it is the most basic and bare minimum that you could imagine. And I think in a generation where a lot of people were expecting this kind of interim machine, kind of like the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X machines were last generation, I think a lot of people expected this thing to be this like killer machine, and it's not that. And I think that's part of the reason why I'm personally disappointed. I would be more than happy paying the price tag of $350 for a Nintendo Switch that maybe output at 4K resolution, or maybe offered a little bit more processing power, and took advantage, especially for games that are coming out that, you know, really could use it. Because if I'm gonna sit here and be honest about the Nintendo Switch, you know, the machine came out in 2017. We are in the 4th year of its existence. You know, by next year, Nintendo probably should be thinking about maybe whatever the next thing is, but do they really need to do that? The Switch is selling like crazy. You can't really fault Nintendo for doing this, because when you look at it from a business standpoint, they're not losing any money. Like, they're selling these machines all the freaking time, so they don't need to go out and make an interim system that's more powerful, because if you look at their install base, it doesn't really matter to them. And it's just a bummer. Like, I was telling some friends the other day, we were having a conversation about the Nintendo Switch, and you know, when the machine came out, I was all for it. I played a lot of games on it in that first year. I mean, I can't think of a better first year for a machine. You had Mario Odyssey and Zelda Breath of the Wild. That is probably the best launch year of a system in a long ass time. And then after that, it kind of like, I played some of the exclusives here and there and stuff. I mean, you know, I have a collection of about 40 Switch games, and so it's not a matter of there's just not enough games for the system. It's just disappointing to look at this and go, why not, you know, move things forward? And so the point I'm trying to make is, ever since I'd say like end of 2018, early 2019, if a game is announced for the Switch and it's not a first party like Mario, Zelda, whatever, I will actively look to see if it's on one of the other systems, because I want to play it at its best. And Switch, it's not going to be its best. You know, a 720p 30 handheld system was cool in 2017. It's not cool in 2021 when a service like Xbox Game Pass offers cloud gaming at a higher resolution and higher frame rate and actually really works. And so, you know, when I look at something like that, if I really want to play a game on my phone or, you know, in a mobile setting, the Switch just isn't as viable as it was. I was really hoping that this thing would be like, hey, this thing, you know what I want? I wanted a 1080p 60 frame handheld. I don't think that's a lot to ask out of Nintendo. If the thing, you know, if the thing goes to 1080p still as in a docked mode, but can have increased frame rates, I'd be happy with that. And the problem is, I'll give a prime example, Hades. So Hades, you look at that game, I'm really excited to finally play it on the Series X here next month because it's, you know, going to actually run pretty decent. I played a little bit of it on PC, but when they announced it coming out to Switch, I thought, oh, this is a great opportunity to play that game, perfect way to play it. The resolution is so poor, you know, handheld, and it runs at 30 frames. That's a game you really need to run at 60. It's just, it turned me off to even playing it there. And I know I'm sounding like, you know, a frame rate, you know, resolution snob, but I kind of am, I guess. I just want this machine to be better than it is. And it's an awesome machine. The Nintendo Switch is awesome. I think it's the best Nintendo system since GameCube. You know, I was not really a big fan of the Wii or the Wii U. And I grew up as a kid playing the N64, but it's not a system I want to return to. So it's Nintendo has a great machine. I just wish they had a little bit more powerful hardware to make a compelling argument to play the games there. And right now they're not offering that. It's disappointing. You know, I walked away from this going, so you're going to charge $50 more than the standard model for these very minimal upgrades. This isn't a Switch Pro, this is a Switch upgrade. And so you have to look at it from one of two ways. You can either look at it and go, okay, maybe this is just the 2021 announcement to get people excited and they're going to announce a Switch Pro in 2022, or this is it. They're not making another Switch. They're going to move on to whatever the next hardware is in 2022. I don't know. It's just really interesting that they didn't do this a couple weeks ago at E3, and my thoughts there are, I think they already knew that whole presentation was going to be light, and I think if they threw this in there, a lot of people would have been angry, because the reaction to the Switch OLED is not very great. You have your diehard Nintendo fans that are like, well, I'll buy anything Nintendo makes, and then you have, you know, more realist people like myself that look at it and go, $50 more for this is not worth it. I have a 128 gigabyte memory card in the machine, so an additional 32 gigabytes of memory doesn't really help me at all. So now, one thing I will say, and one thing that could date this video, is if they come out and say, you know what, no, the machine actually is a little bit more powerful, you know, I would be all on board. Then I would change my tune. I'd be like, all right, maybe I'll consider getting the Switch OLED. The other thing that was really disappointing, and this is why I don't think that's the case, is they didn't even improve the battery life. Like, they had a very, very mild system refresh for the battery life back in, I want to say 2019, and so I thought, oh, okay, well, maybe they'll have better battery life. No, it's the same. And that's what tells me that this system is identical. It just has a little bit bigger and better screen and a network port in the dock. That's it. And it's just really disappointing. I'm curious to see how this thing sells. I'm curious to see how Nintendo fans take to it. But it's not for me. Like, I like the Switch a lot, but for me, it's like, okay, so you want to see a game that runs at 540p resolution blown up on an OLED screen? No thanks. So I'm curious. I'd love to know your thoughts. What do you think of the Nintendo Switch OLED? I keep wanting to say Pro, but it's not. What do you think of the Nintendo Switch OLED? Are you planning on getting one? Are you going to trade in your current system for this? I mean, the only other thing I'd say is, like, if my launch system was, like, on its last legs or something, I would consider, you know, swapping it out for this, but my launch system has been fine. I actually told a friend today, I've turned on my Nintendo Switch one time this year, and that was right after E3. I did a bunch of updates. I think I bought something that was like 99 cents in the eShop, and then was like, oh, look at this later, and then put it back in the dock, and I have not touched it since. Because I just don't, like, I don't know, man. Like, I really want to play games and enjoy them on the Switch, but every time I try to, it's just that resolution, the frame rates, it hinders my enjoyment from that machine. And I'm probably being snobbish, but it is what it is. So I'd love to know in the comments below, are you excited about the Nintendo Switch OLED? Are you going to purchase one? What do you guys think about this? So as always, remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And until next time.